Hello, authors. My name is Amira Freeman, and I'm going to be facilitating the Breaking the Line Books Presents Author Development Workshop today. This workshop is a valuable tool of all of the experience that I've gathered in my years as a best-selling author. Today, you're going to learn aspects of creating and publishing your story so that you can make the important decisions about your work. So, let's get started. You want to write a book, so what's next? Over the years, I've heard a lot of people say that they want or should write a book, but they never get around to it because they don't know what to do. Well, Breaking the Line Books has developed this author development training to help potential authors understand the process. You want to write that book? What is your next step? Actually, there's several steps to get your story to market. The story itself, your future audience, the amount of commitment and determination needed to work on your book, writing the actual story, which means the mechanics of writing it, editing and proofreading, the formidable agent query, your publishing options, and marketing and PR. So let's talk about your story. Your story or content is one of the most valuable pieces of your book. You have to ask yourself the following questions to find out what you will write about. What's your story? How important is it for you to tell your story? What are you passionate about in your life or career? What is driving you right now? Has something happened to you that you want to tell? And are you ready to share it with the world? Once you've answered those questions, you'll have a better idea of your content or what you want to write about. All right, so we've talked about your story. So now let's talk about your audience. That's the next question that you have to ask yourself. Who is my audience? You'll need to think about the type of individual who would like to know about the content or story that you've decided to write. It's very important to pick your audience or genre well because your book has to have a category. And I cannot stress that more. It is very important that you pick your audience or genre well because that will influence your writing and you don't want your book to get lost in an oversaturated genre later on. So you'll have to think about their gender, your reader's age, ethnicity, location, occupation, and interests because those things are important. And last, think about it well. Choose your audience well because that will be how your book is able to voice your story in that crowd. Two aspects that you won't be able to complete your book without is commitment and determination. Commitment is during the entire process of creating your masterpiece. Make sure that you stay on task. It's easy to get distracted by outside distractions. However, if you have to go away or step away from your work, do that. But make sure that you come back and try to stay on task. Write something every day. That helps so that you don't have to get mired down and you know that you're being productive. Allow time for brainstorming. Now, this is also important because whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction, it's helpful so that you will have a general idea of how well you are proceeding in your work. You're able to think about it before you sit down to write. And repeat, yes, I can do this several times a day to avoid writer's block. Being an author, I can assure you that having that positive thought in your mind every day, several times a day, it does help you so that you know that you are going to complete this work. Now, let's talk about determination. Determination is also a dedication to your work. You're going to schedule time to work on your book every week. That's important because then you don't set unrealistic goals for yourself. Speaking of goals, create short term goals for your book that you can reach easily. That way, you feel better about how well the project is progressing. Write something in your book every day. That will also help you to see that you're actually producing more towards your final goal of having a complete book. And think positively always and avoid negativity from others. This is very important, also, authors, because a lot of people won't understand your journey because they're not walking it with you. So just remember Think positive about your work, and you can do this. Okay, so now let's talk about writing the story or the mechanics of writing the story. Most authors will tell you that writing the story was the hardest part of their book. And I'll have to agree that writing the story is difficult, not just the typing, but especially if you haven't planned well or haven't written a paper since high school or college. As an author, I'd recommend these steps. Outlining, it's super important because you form a framework of your book. And don't be afraid to add to it or take away as you need as you're writing. But remember also that the outline is also a part of a rough draft because it's not going to be finished. It's not a finished work. Don't panic. Think about your content. Write from your outline as much as possible. Keep a notepad near you always when not writing, just in case you get an idea and you want to be able to put that in your writing. You don't want to forget it and miss out on it later. And as your story develops, compare it to your outline to keep on track. So you might have to have a rough draft and your outline. That way, you'll know that you're progressing according to what you want to put in your story. And think about the ending. Keep the end of your story in mind to make your reader more interested in your future work. And get ready for the next stage because the ending of your story is not the ending of your book. But don't forget the three P's: plan well, prepare before you start each writing session, and pace yourself. Don't panic. All right, authors. So now we have a story. It's time to find a proofreader or some proofreaders and an editor. When I wrote my first book, Victoria's Beginning, I was so excited to have completed a book. The only problem was that I only had two proofreaders, my husband and my mother in law, who had no experience whatsoever in proofreading other than that they enjoyed reading books. So, suffice to say, my book has been reformatted and edited by professionals since its release in 2013, which was not cost effective for me. Don't get me wrong, sometimes a second or third set of eyes is okay, but you're going to have to step it up if you want to compete against the thousands of books that are published every day. So, proofreaders and editors help you with that. A proofreader is going to help you with presentation and flow. You can find some proofreaders in focus groups, and that's going to help you as a test drive for your book to get it to market. And it's also going to help with genre confirmation. Because if the proofreaders go through that entire list of presentation, flow, focus, test drive, and genre confirmation, and you still have questions, then you might need to go back and redevelop your work. Or it might help you to proceed into the editing process. And editors look for, or I should say, editors are people who critique, they look at the structure, the clarity, they help you with revisions to industry standard, which is, a huge, huge assistance, content development, and collaboration because you may need to get with another author in order so that you can complete your work because they may have already completed a work similar or they may be working on something and you can collaborate with them to complete your own work. But either way, proofreading and editing are huge pieces in getting your work to the market. Whew. Ah, yes, you're almost there. Now it's time to decide if you want an agent to represent your book to a bigger publisher or if you want to explore other publishing options that are out there for your work. Let's take a look at agents first. Did someone say agent? Literary agents are some of the most exclusive individuals in the publishing industry. The best ones are highly selective and only want celebrity clients. This is typical because they only make money when you do. So they have to ensure that your book and you are marketable to their standards before they accept you as a client. The large volume of submissions that most agents receive most time guarantee that they issue an acceptance right away, a rejection after a few weeks, or they kind of ignore you sometimes totally or don't respond. Agents are subjective, but they're not elusive. Sending an agent query may help you find an agent to represent your work. So let's look at those. Agent queries are basic information letters to literary agents to introduce you and your book. It's basically saying, "Hi, how are you doing? This is my book and this is me. Can you look at it for me?" Authors that choose the agent route can usually search online agent query databases. There are several out there, or they usually find a literary agency that has an agent to submit their query to. You'll have to confirm as the author whether the agent accepts submissions by snail mail, which is postal mail, or email. Because if you send it and they don't accept it that way, they can either just ignore you totally or just throw your stuff in the trash. And we don't want that. We want you to be able to get out there. So let's look at the three elements that a query needs: something about the book, something about you, and the first 3 to 5 pages of your manuscript. This helps an agent to decide whether or not your book is according to their preference to take to a bigger publisher or their contact in publishing to make your work marketable. But just remember that agents are subjective, so it's all according to their preference. But there are other options. Let's look at those. Yes, you have other options, authors, and one of those is self publishing. Self publishing is a growing industry with ebook and print on demand services. Print on demand publishing really refers to being able to print really good books as much as you need according to what you need, not huge, large runs that you'll have to stockpile in your shed and try to sell off for yourself. It's only how many you want. And for self published books, most of the time it's more economical to do it this way. There's a lot of self publishing companies out there, such as CreateSpace, which is owned by Amazon, that's also a distributor, Blurb, Lulu, and iUniverse. They allow single printing books per cost so that you don't have to be way out of your pocket. And also, it's possible to create ebooks with no upfront or per book costs, which is becoming more popular among readers and self publishers. And the ebook platforms that you can use are Smashwords, Amazon Kindle, and CreateSpace, among others. It's really helpful to be able to have those options at your fingertips. Then there's vanity publishing. Vanity publishers give unknown authors an alternative to publish any book in exchange for payment upfront from the author. It differs from self publishing in that the author doesn't own the print run of finished books and is not in primary control of their distribution, which some authors they want that control. They want to know, where's my book going and who is it being sold to. Vanity presses also lack editors who can improve the quality of content, which they may promise that up front but not be able to give it on the back end. And their offerings tend to be viewed by bookstores and distributors with a sideways glance a little bit, which makes it hard for a lot of authors to break into the market and to have their book go into actual bookstore. Vanity presses can be very costly, but don't despair. There is one more option that is a great fit for most authors who want help along the way but still want to retain some control over their book. Let's look at that. Okay, let's talk about independent or indie publishing. The independent publishing industry is growing and becoming the more popular route that authors are taking to publish their books to retain the rights to their work. We at Breaking the Line Books are also an independent publisher. So let's look at what independent publishers do, or what they are as well. Independent publishers are publishers that engage in a book selection process along with editing, marketing, and distribution. Small presses, which is what indie publishers are called, also enter into a contract with the author and pay royalties after they sell the books, which that's great because the author gets money and the publisher gets money. Independent publishers also own the copies that they have printed because they're printing them at their cost so that the author can sell them. But they don't own the copyright to the book itself. So the author still retains that control and the rights to their work. Small presses do take on creative tasks to complete the finished works, and these tasks include creative writing, so collaborating with the author basically on their writing, and choosing writing software, which is also helpful because there are several forms of writing software that you can use in order so that you can create your work. Deciding on an editor, most independent publishers have an editor on staff or one on retainer so that they can work with the author independently and they don't have to pay exorbitant costs to keep an editor on staff. And they work with cover designers in order so that they can create beautiful images in order so that they can get your work out there and make it seen as well as heard in the crowd. The technical aspect of independent publishers include formatting for printing and digital conversion, as well as distribution and marketing PR, which those are huge pieces of getting your work to market. As well as all presses work with the author to find the most economical routes from development to marketing the published work. But authors still have to perform some tasks independently to sell their books, such as scheduling their own book signings. But the independent publishers that I know work with the authors in order so that they can create a really great schedule and give the author support during their signing. So, isn't that great? That's a huge option for a lot of authors that may need assistance but still want to have some control. Independent publishing is something to definitely take another look at. Hear ye, hear ye. Your book is published. Now let the world know. Social media is a huge tool, authors, to use to get the word out about your book. Use your personal Facebook page to tell your family and friends about your accomplishment and where to buy the book once it goes into distribution. You can also create an author page on Amazon Author Central, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, wherever you can so that you can start building that fan base that you're going to need to push your book forward into the out of the crowd. If you don't have a website, create one with GoDaddy, Wix.com, or other website builders. This helps you to get more exposure and gives your fans somewhere to go so that they can learn more about you. Blogs are also important to keep your readers up to date about what you're going to do next. And use press releases to let other areas in locations know about your book. This is huge and important because the media will do a lot of the work for you. You just have to put it out there. There are so many free press release sites, but research them well before using them because you want to make sure that you're using a reputable site and not someone that's just going to take your information or ask for money. Call a radio and TV station and request an interview. Sometimes they need someone to fill in the empty air, and why not let it be you? Or create online videos with YouTube to get exposure. It's easy to create a channel, and we at Breaking the Line Books assist our authors with creating their own channels so that they can create those online videos and bring more exposure to themselves and their work. And schedule a book launch with your local bookstore, library, or venue to get your book into readers' hands and introduce yourself personally to your future fans and to the bookstore staff, libraries, and whatnot. Because most of the time, libraries, they are so interested in authors, especially local authors. So don't forget, those are resources as well for you to be able to keep going back and having more book signings and getting more exposure and meeting more people that may be interested in your work. And please don't forget your promotional materials to bring more attention to you and your book just in case of you run out of books, which I don't recommend. But always let them leave with something in their hands so that they can find out where you're going to be next or what information they're going to need to find you. But lastly, I have to tell you, remember your book is a business too. It is a business that you have to take care of. So I guess I can tell you, welcome to entrepreneurship. All right, authors, we made it. We made it all the way to the end of that training workshop to develop you into more effective and more informed author. One thing I can tell you is however you decide to create and publish your book, remember to always be positive, dedicated, and stay informed. If you have any questions or comments, please let us know at breakingthelinebooks.com. We will be more than happy to assist you with your book project or with an author coach. So, I think someone has work to do. Good luck and God bless.